There is a particular kind of loneliness that almost no one has the language for, and it has nothing to do with the absence of other people. It has to do with the presence of people who, by every visible measure, should be the right people. The people who came up alongside you. The people who share your background, your education, your industry, your social class, your geography. The people who, on paper, are exactly the demographic with whom you should feel a sense of belonging. And yet, when you are with them, something is off. Not in any way you can point to. The conversations are pleasant. The interactions are functional. The relationships continue. But there is a low-grade dissonance that runs underneath all of it, a sense that you are slightly translating yourself for everyone in the room, that the version of you that is present is not quite the version that exists when you are alone, that the people you are speaking with a self you have constructed for the speaking rather than the self that is actually there. And the dissonance, over time, accumulates into something that feels increasingly like loneliness, even as your social calendar remains full and your relationships appear, from the outside, entirely intact. There is an old image that captures what is happening here, and the image is more accurate than most of the modern psychological frameworks that try to describe the same phenomenon. The image is of an animal in the wrong herd, a creature that has been raised among others of a different kind, and that has learned with sufficient skill to perform the behaviors of the herd it was raised in, but that is not, in its deeper structure, the same kind of animal. The creature can pass. The creature can function. The creature can move through the daily life of the herd without producing any visible signal that it does not belong. But the creature knows in the part of itself that the performance cannot reach, that the performance is a performance. And the knowing, the quiet, continuous, mostly unconscious knowing, is the source of the dissonance. The performance is succeeding. The knowing is what the performance cannot fix. This essay is about that knowing, about what it means for a person to discover, somewhere in their adult life, that they have been functioning in a herd that is not actually theirs. About why this discovery is so often delayed for so long, and so often misread when it finally arrives. About what the strategic and philosophical traditions across centuries have observed about this specific kind of internal misalignment. And about what, practically, becomes possible when the misalignment is finally acknowledged and addressed rather than suppressed under another decade of skillful performance. Let's begin with the question of how the misalignment forms in the first place, because the formation is not random. The misalignment forms when a person of a particular temperament, with a particular set of capacities and sensitivities, is placed by circumstance into an environment that has been organized around a different temperament and different capacities. The placement is not anyone's fault. It is simply what happens. You are born into the family you are born into. You are raised in the geography you are raised in. You attend the schools that were available to you. You enter the professional fields that open to you given the path you were on. None of these contexts asked, when they took you in, whether you were the kind of creature for which they were designed. They simply took you in and trained you in their behaviors. And you, being a sensitive and adaptive young creature, learned the behaviors. You learned them well. You became, on the surface, indistinguishable from the others in the environment. And the deeper part of you, the part that was actually a different kind of animal, learned to keep quiet so that the integration could proceed. For some people, this is fine. Their temperament is sufficiently close to the temperament of the environment they were placed in that the gap between the performance and the underlying self is small. They do not feel a significant dissonance. The herd is more or less their herd. The behaviors of the herd are more or less behaviors that would have emerged from them naturally. There is no creature inside that needs to be kept quiet, because the inner creature is roughly the kind of creature the environment was built for. These are the people who go through life with a relatively unconflicted relationship to their social context. They do not feel like they are translating themselves. They do not feel the dissonance. The herd metaphor would seem foreign to them because they are not, in any meaningful sense, in the wrong herd. For other people, and you are probably one of them or you would not still be watching this, the gap is significant. The temperament that you are, the kind of creature you actually are at the deeper structural level, is not the kind of creature the environment around you was built for. The environment was built for a different sensibility, a different orientation, a different relationship to risk and conformity and depth and breadth and intensity. And you have been learning, since you were very small, to function in an environment that, at the level of fundamental fit, does not actually fit you. The functioning has been successful. You have learned the language. You have learned the behaviors. You can pass. But the passing is consuming a kind of energy that the people for whom the environment was actually built do not have to spend. And the energy you are spending on the passing is the energy you would otherwise have available for the life that an animal of your kind would naturally live. This is the deepest reason for the dissonance you have been feeling, and it is the reason that almost no surface-level intervention has been able to dispel it. You have tried changing your habits. You have tried changing your mindset. You have tried optimizing your routines, deepening your relationships within the existing context, finding meaning in the situation you are already in. None of these efforts has been wasted, but none of them has resolved the dissonance, because the dissonance is not produced by any feature of your daily life that those interventions could address. The dissonance is produced by the fundamental misfit between the kind of animal you are and the kind of herd you are in. And the dissonance will continue, regardless of how skillfully you continue to perform, until either you change herds or you change your relationship to the herd you are in such that the performance is no longer required. If something in this is reaching the part of you that has been carrying the dissonance without having a name for it, take a second now and subscribe. The work we do here is for the ones who suspect they have been functioning in the wrong herd. Subscribe and hit the bell. Let's keep going. What does it actually mean to be the wrong kind of animal in your current herd? It does not mean that you are better than the people around you, and it does not mean that you are worse. It means that you are different in a way that is significant enough to produce ongoing dissonance, but subtle enough that the dissonance is not visible to the people around you. The strategic traditions across centuries identified several recurring patterns of this kind, and they are worth naming because recognizing your pattern is the first step toward addressing it accurately rather than generally. The first pattern is the depth among breadth misfit. You are oriented by temperament toward depth, toward going far into a small number of things, toward sustained focus, toward the kind of long engagement with a question or a craft or a relationship that the environment around you does not particularly reward or even quite understand. The environment around you is oriented toward breadth, toward many things, lightly engaged, in service of versatility, network, and optionality. The environment is not wrong. Breadth has its uses, but you are not built for the breadth life. You are built for the depth life. And the constant pressure to participate in the breadth life, when you are an animal that was built for depth, is exhausting in a way that the people who are actually breadth animals do not experience as exhausting. They are operating in their native mode. You are operating in translation. The second pattern is the intensity among moderation misfit. You are oriented by temperament toward intensity, toward strong responses, deep feelings, full engagement, all or nothing relationships. The environment around you is oriented toward moderation, toward measured responses, regulated feeling, appropriate engagement, relationships that are calibrated to stay in the safe middle range. Again, the environment is not wrong. Moderation has its functions. But you are not built for the moderate life. The moderate life feels, to you, like a continuous suppression of what you naturally produce. And the suppression, year after year, is exhausting in a way that the natively moderate person does not understand, because for them the moderation is not a suppression. It is simply their range. The third pattern is the meaning among utility misfit. You are oriented by temperament toward meaning, toward the question of what something is for, what it points at, what deeper significance it carries. The environment around you is oriented toward utility, toward what something does, what it produces, what practical function it serves. The environment is not wrong. Utility is necessary, but you are not built for the utility life. The utility life feels, to you, like a continuous failure to address the questions that actually matter. And the constant emphasis on utility, when you are an animal that needs meaning to function, produces a low-grade hunger that the people who are natively utility-oriented do not feel, because for them the utility is the meaning. There are other patterns: the introvert among extroverts, the deliberation among action, the unconventional among conventional, the artist among administrators. The specifics vary. The structural shape is the same. A creature of one kind, living in an environment built for a different kind, and consuming a continuous stream of energy on the translation between what they actually are and what the environment requires them to perform. And the consequence in every case is the same: the dissonance, the low-grade exhaustion that no amount of conventional self-care can resolve. The sense, growing stronger over time, that something fundamental is off. Now we come to the part that requires care, because there are two responses to this realization, and one of them is the path to actual resolution and the other is the path to a different and equally unproductive form of suffering. The first response, the one that is the path to nothing useful, is the response of resentment. The conclusion that you are the wrong kind of animal in this herd, and that this is the herd's fault, and that the herd is responsible for the dissonance, and that the right move is to position yourself as superior to the herd and to communicate your superiority to anyone who will listen. This response is understandable because the discovery of fundamental misfit produces real anger, and the anger needs somewhere to go. But the resentment response does not solve the misfit. The resentment response simply makes you a person who is still in the wrong herd, but now with the additional burden of being chronically contemptuous of the herd you are still functioning in. The dissonance does not decrease. The resentment becomes its own continuous drain. And the years that should have been spent on the actual resolution are spent, instead, on the maintenance of a stance that is going nowhere. The second response, the one that is the path to actual resolution, is more demanding and less satisfying in the short term. It involves three specific things, and they have to happen together for any of them to work. The first thing is acceptance in the full and unsentimental sense of what you actually are, not the version of yourself that you have been performing for the environment. The actual creature underneath the performance, including the parts of you that the environment has been treating as flaws to be corrected: your depth, your intensity, your need for meaning, your unconventionality, whatever the specific signature of your temperament is. The environment has been telling you in 1,000 small ways that these things are problems. You have been believing it. The acceptance is the moment when you stop believing it. Not by deciding that the environment is wrong about you, but by understanding that the environment is correct about what the environment requires, and that what the environment requires is not, as it turns out, what you are. You are something else. The environment is not built for what you are. This is information about the misfit, not information about your defects. And the acceptance of what you actually are is the first piece of the resolution, because without the acceptance, you will continue to operate as if your nature is the problem rather than the misfit between your nature and the environment. The second thing is the search for the right herd. Not the perfect herd. Perfect herds do not exist. The right herd, the herd whose temperament, whose orientation, whose fundamental shape is close enough to your own that the translation is no longer the primary activity of your social life. The herd exists. It is rarer than the environment you are currently in by definition. If it were common, you would already be in it. It is dispersed. It is not always easy to find. And it is almost always populated by people who have made some version of the same journey you are making, who recognized that they were the wrong kind of animal for their original herd and who undertook deliberately and over time the work of finding their actual one. The right herd is found through a combination of patience and active search, through the willingness to recognize the people who, when you meet them, produce a specific and unmistakable feeling, the feeling of being in the presence of your own kind, the feeling of not having to translate, the feeling of the dissonance briefly and then increasingly dropping out. These people exist. They are findable. The search is worth undertaking because the alternative, staying in the wrong herd forever, is not a sustainable life. The third thing is the work of integration that makes the second thing possible. Because here is the difficult and rarely stated truth about the search for the right herd. The right herd cannot be found by a person who has not yet acknowledged what they actually are. The right herd requires the actual self to be present in the search, and the actual self has been suppressed for so long, in service of the performance for the wrong herd, that the actual self is not always immediately available to the searcher. The work of integration, of bringing the exiled parts of yourself back into conscious life, of letting the actual creature come up from under the performance, is the precondition for the search. The person who searches before doing this work tends to find, instead of the right herd, another wrong herd that pattern matches to the suppressed self rather than the actual one. The work has to be done first. The actual self has to come up. And then the right herd, which has been there all along, becomes findable. There is one more thing to say, and it is the thing that the strategic traditions across centuries have repeated in different forms but with the same underlying observation. The discovery that you have been in the wrong herd and the decision to find the right one is one of the most consequential transitions a human being can make. Not because the right herd will solve all your problems, no herd does that, but because the wrong herd, when you are the wrong kind of animal for it, takes from you continuously in the form of the energy that the translation consumes. And the energy that is being consumed is the energy that, if it were no longer being consumed, would be available for everything else. For the actual work, for the actual relationships, for the actual life that your kind of animal was built to live. The recovery of that energy, when it is recovered, is the single largest interior shift most people will ever experience. Not because they suddenly become different, because they finally, after decades, stop being different from themselves. The dissonance ends. The translation ends. The exhaustion of the performance ends. And what remains is the actual creature, finally in something close to the right environment, finally able to do what an animal of that kind was always going to do, if only it had been in a place where the doing was possible. If this reached the part of you that has known you were in the wrong herd but has not had the words for it, do something now. Comment with these 4 words. I am not them, just that. So I can see how many of us have recognized the misfit and are ready to begin the work of finding the right place. Give this a like if it moved something real. The next video continues into what the right herd actually looks like, how to recognize it when you encounter it, and how to navigate the transition from the wrong one. It is the practical continuation of everything we just discussed. I will see you there.